Hey guys, I hope the audio is not too bad because my microphone is missing the little foamy thing that goes on top that's supposed to protect it from the wind and stuff, and I don't know if it works without it. Probably does, not sure. Today I'm going to be doing a story time video that honestly I was hoping something crazy would happen with this story just so I could make a YouTube video about it, and then I was thinking back on it and I was like, that's pretty crazy. God intervened in this situation. So let me start from the beginning. No, the title is not clickbait. I literally could have gotten in legal trouble for this dog story.
Also, please watch until the end of the video if you're interested in the legal part because I sort of messed up and didn't mention it until the very end. Okay, thank you.
Let me set the scene. I was driving to my friend's house because we were gonna go catch Pokemon because what else do I do when my friends are home for summer? And normally, you know, when you see dogs on the side of the road, if your parents are with you or you're in a rush or you're in a hurry and you can't stop, you're like, oh, that's so sad, but I can't stop because I have to go because life is calling. Yeah, well this time I didn't have anywhere to be at a certain point in time, so I was like, I'm gonna stop. I was driving in this rural part of town. It's by our old town and it goes up into the hills, so it's not an exactly safe part of town for small animals. And I saw these 3 puppies running down the side of the road. They weren't on the road, but they were on the sidewalk next to this house. So I pulled over and I was like, what the freak? Someone help me. I went up to them and I was like, hey, come here. And immediately the 2 smallest ones ran right up to me and then I had to coax the biggest one to come up, but they were so friendly. The cutest things ever. I'm gonna insert pictures along this entire video. I started freaking out and I was like, who do they belong to? Do they belong to this house that's right here on the side where I found them? And so I went to knock on the gate because this house was surrounded by an entire gate. The gate had a sign that said beware of dog on it. So when I knocked on the gate to see if anybody would come out, a giant dog comes running out, and these little dogs that have been going inside and outside the gate run. So clearly it didn't belong to them. At this point I called up my friend and was like, hey, can you come help me with these dogs? Bring food. I should also mention that it's about 5-6 o'clock right now, so it's not dark out, but the sun is definitely going lower in the sky, maybe even 7. It was dusk. So my friend comes with the dog. No, she doesn't come with the dog. She comes with the food. She brought an entire quart-sized bag of food, like this big. And these dogs, the biggest one's about this big, maybe? Like you can easily pick them up and carry them. And they demolished the food. Like they had not eaten in 7 days. Tried to get them some water, but that didn't really work out because we didn't have a bowl. And the neighbors came. I was like, okay, I wonder if they belong to the neighbors. So I was going up to go ask them, and then they were pulled in their driveway. And I was like, hey, do you guys own 3 dogs? They were like, no. And the people next to us only have big dogs, and I don't think they belong to the people across from us. Go to the mobile home park right around the corner, and they might belong to somebody over there. Me and my friend picked them up, had to carry the little one in my purse, and we went on a trek. But what I didn't realize was I thought that it was just a street over, but no. It's kind of hard to explain, but this housing tract connected to a main street with stores and everything. So on this side was a store, and it wasn't residential for like a whole other street. So I was like, I don't know if they came from there. Anyways, it was getting dark, so probably wasn't gonna be the best idea to go ask people, knock on their houses and be like, hey, you missing 3 dogs? What we chose to do was to take them back to her house because I had called my dad and was like, hey, I found 3 dogs. Can I please take them home? And he was like, yeah, I guess. Rather than taking them home straight away, we went over to my friend's house because I wanted to hang out with her and I was trying to figure out what to do. This is when we found out that they had fleas. At this point, you can kind of get my mindset. These dogs have fleas, and they demolished the food that we gave them. And they were walking around in this rural part of town. I thought that they were strays, or that somebody had dumped them because there's no way that they would have lasted that long on the streets, considering there's coyotes. It's a coyote-infested area, and they didn't have collars. I was freaking out because as soon as we found out they had fleas, my mom was like, you are not taking those without. After many minutes trying to figure out what to do, the animal shelter's closed, and the only thing available is animal control that we know of, and an animal drop-off where you go to the animal shelter and you drop it off overnight. I was gonna do that, but then I was like, wait, because my mom was like, hey, maybe your dad can set up a cage. I don't know, ask, hey dad, can you set up a cage that have fleas? My dad, being the huge-hearted man he is for dogs, was like, sure. So my dad set up this whole little cage area in our garage with a blanket and food and water. So we took it back to my house because I had to take him to the animal shelter the next morning. I was mainly worried because I didn't want them to go to the animal shelter and not find homes. We had been putting out, asking people on the internet and stuff like that if anybody could take one in or go and adopt one, and I know looking back that this was probably not the best idea. We should have looked for owners and stuff like that, should have taken them into the animal shelter, but I was so worried that they weren't gonna have a home, and in my mind I was like, well, whoever's taking care of them probably isn't taking very good care of them considering that they are found in the condition they were. I thought they seemed a little bit skinny, but apparently, well, you'll learn later on, apparently there's nothing wrong with them. Long story short, somebody from our church reaches out and is like, hey, I'm interested in one of the dogs, can I come over and see them? And I was like, yeah, take one please, take all 3. puppy, so I don't have to go to the shelter, because I was gonna end up taking them all the way to about an hour and a half away, because that's where I work and there was no kill shelter there, and the shelter that is common to our area is not a no-kill shelter, so I was like, I can't take them there. Once my mom found out, she said, if the girl takes the two older ones, I'll talk to you about the puppy. The girl comes the next day and she takes one of them, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll have to take the next two over to the animal shelter. She calls me back after she leaves and says, my friend wants the other one. Her friend comes, they look at them, she's like, I'll have to think about it, because she has a little daughter with her. Her daughter is looking at the dogs and she says, I don't like Chihuahuas. The little puppy was probably a Chihuahua mix or a Chihuahua, and then the middle puppy, it looked like he had Chihuahuas, and then the oldest puppy, or the biggest puppy I should say, was the one that the other girl took. They leave, animal shelter back on. Then she calls me back and says, my friend's gonna take the biggest one because it doesn't look like a Chihuahua, and I'll take the middle one because I didn't really care which one I took. They came back and took them. They go to the vet. I'm in the backyard with the puppy, playing with my dog, and at this point, we basically decided just to keep the puppy there instead of taking it all the way to the shelter. And then she calls me back again. Sorry, I'm talking about Miranda Singh's voice a lot. Watching too much Jessie Smiles and Kathleen Lights. Anyways, she calls me back and says, we're at the vet right now. We kind of got in trouble. So here's what happens when I find lost dog. I did not know this, but you have to put up posters for a month before you can claim a dog as your own and rehome it. I guess the vet was pretty concerned because she said they're like 3 or 4 months old and these belong to somebody and they're not microchipped, but they don't look like they're being mistreated or anything. They're somebody's pets. To me, this was weird because they had fleas and there was no way that they had fleas from walking around for a day, you know? The little one was infested, okay? So she brings back the dogs. I was already on my way to work. She had to use the key to get into my house, whatever, put them back in. They're sitting in my garage. I was planning on taking them to the animal shelter at this point to go figure out what the heck I do, because I didn't want to leave them at the shelter that's close by and then have them not be adopted and then have them euthanized. So I was gonna go figure out what's going on, like, hey, can you put our names on a list? Something. They don't get adopted within a month. Let us know. Then I get a call on my phone and my friend's like, hey, I found the dog's owner. And I was like, what? My friend had gone to play with the little puppy because it was alone at this point and she was going to go play with him, but then by the time she got there, all the other dogs were there. And on her way home, for some reason, her mom felt like she should go just check to see. Maybe there's like a poster or anything. Yeah, there was a poster. And it was obviously those dogs' owners. She called the owners. I tried calling them. I never spoke with them, so I texted them. She went and picked him up and I never got to say bye. But she picked him up from my dad because my dad was home and she offered to keep one. They were like, hey, you want to keep one? And my dad was like, we'll have to let you know. Which is super confusing to me because why the heck would you be like, hey, you want one of our dogs? But I guess this is how it happened. The biggest puppy belonged to them and the 2 smaller ones belonged to the person that I was speaking with. Brother and his wife. I don't know. They thought that they couldn't take care of him, which would explain the fleas on that puppy. Because I didn't really see any fleas on the bigger one, but I did see them definitely on the smallest one, and the middle one probably had some too. I think that he had some coming off of him. I was just glad that they weren't going to a shelter and that they actually had a home to go to. I messaged my friend from church and told her that they were looking to get rid of one or possibly 2, because she told me she was like, I'll take 2 if they find out that they don't belong to anybody at the shelter, because I don't want them staying at the shelter. I messaged the lady that they belonged to and told her that my friend was interested in the puppies, and then she said that she would tell her brother, and I gave her my friend's number and blah 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 blah. They were looking to rehome the middle one. My friend never gets a call, and I randomly decided to text the lady yesterday and was like, hey, the little one has scabs on the back of his neck, so please get that checked out or let your brother know just in case so they can watch it. And I gave him a flea bath, but I don't know if all the fleas, just to check, you know. And she goes, yeah, my brother and his wife changed their mind and they want to keep the dog. What would have happened if you let me keep the dog? Would you have come back and said, hey, we changed our mind, we actually want our dog back? I don't really know. So that's basically what happened. But the biggest part of this story, which is why the title is the way it is that the vet said legality reasons, which means that if I would have rehomed these dogs and these people put up those signs and were like, hey, we need our dogs, and something happened where they knew that I gave them away, could have gone in legal trouble. And this is a story of me trying to be a good person. But I'm really glad that this happened because it's opened my eyes to shelter dogs, so yeah. And that's gonna be the end of this video. Sorry if it was a boring one. I don't know why I'm apologizing because all my videos are amazing. But really, thank you guys for watching and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.